We took the minibus to Saikung and found the number 94 double-decker bus that would take us to Wong Shek Pier. As we paid the bus fare and climbed up its stairs, Bernie explained that he had some important work to do. He would like to sit alone. That was fine by me. He sat at the front of the bus. I made my way to the back. 5 minutes into the journey, I began to wonder what work could be so important. I quietly crept towards the front so I could look over Bernie's shoulder. He was writing something on his mobile phone, paying no attention to the stunning scenery he had craved for earlier. "I can see you, Timothy. Go away." He sounded like a teacher with eyes in the back of his head. I knew Bernie was desperate to tell me what he was up to. "Come on, show me this work of yours, please," I begged. "I'm writing an HQ," he said importantly. "An HQ? What's one of those?" I really had no idea. "Don't you know anything, Timothy? An HQ was first written by William Shakespeare, the greatest writer that has ever lived. From England, of course. You know, Romeo and Juliet, Macbeth, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Now, my school principal is crazy about Shakespeare and always drones on about him. "Is this a dagger I see before me? Romeo, Romeo," and so on. I was pretty sure Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde was written by someone else. Bernie continued with his lecture on English literature. Shakespeare invented the HQ. It's a sort of 3-line poem, 5 syllables in the first, 7 in the second, and 5 in the third. I don't suppose you know what a syllable is, do you, Timothy? Ignoring his last question, I realized what my cousin was saying. "I think you mean haiku, Bernie. A haiku, not an HQ. Not invented by your William Shakespeare, made in Japan." I pulled out my own mobile phone and quickly performed a wiki search. Yes, there it was. Me right, Bernie wrong. He knew he could not argue with me, for we all know that Wikipedia was always right. I cannot tell you how good this made me feel. That was until I looked at Bernie. His eyes were filling with tears. Me making Bernie cry would not look good if it got back to my mum. I had to do something, and quickly. Sitting down next to him, I said, "It's okay, Bernie. This is a learning adventure. I think haikus are pretty cool. Let's write one together." My cousin looked sad, unsure of whether he could trust me. "I'll do one about England, Bernie. You do one on Hong Kong." My cousin nodded. We both began tapping into our mobile phones and counting syllables on our hands. 30 minutes later, our bus arrived at its destination. It was time to share our haiku efforts. Bernie went first. "The Tapman pathway, through forest roads and the sea, guiding us to peace." "That's pretty good," I said encouragingly, secretly counting the syllables. Bernie's was better than mine. "Let me compare thee to a long London summer, violent typhoons." "We don't have typhoons in England," said Bernie. But I was relieved. He was back to his normal self. We high-fived, our first. Walking along the pier, I pretended to make a phone call. "Who are you calling, Timothy?" Bernie asked. "HQ," I answered.